Hey everyone. So I'm at actually doing laundry for my client. So I want to tell you a little story. It's not a little story. It's a big story. So as I'm doing this laundry, I'm gonna go back to the story when I was 19, pregnant, and the ignorance of me. Um, I told you guys that I ended up using heroin, crack cocaine, and when I was maybe 4 months pregnant, I didn't know I was pregnant. I was actually using, right? So anyway, I had such a habit. I'm talking about 2 to 3 bundles of heroin. Didn't know I was pregnant. Come to find that I was pregnant. 19, fourth child. At this point, my concern was getting my fix. My concern was finding my medicine. People might judge and be like, well, you're pregnant, you're using drugs. What kind of mother are you? First of all, this is non-judgmental site. I'm not posting for people to badger me. I know what I've done. I've taken full responsibilities of all my actions. I have also understood that when you're broken and when you're abused and when a child is no longer a child because she ended up in the hands of someone that dictated her life, that also was a part of me, of who I was. So I, had this habit where I would go to my ex-sister-in-law's house, and there I would use, my routine of drug use was basically going to my sister-in-law's house while I was being dropped off by the husband, and while he hangs out with his friends, he would just leave me there so I could stay with his sister, and there we just would be using drugs. And I already had 3 kids. Here I am, I'm pregnant, and they're all older than I. His family members, they're all older. So with them giving me the drugs, to me it was like, okay, so in my head, she also had kids and they're fine, so I guess it's okay, right? But then again, also, those that are they have been through addiction, also understand the need of getting high. And to me, it wasn't even no more about getting high. It was basically I didn't want to feel pain. I didn't want to feel hurt. I didn't want to wake up anymore throwing up. I didn't want to wake up, you get diarrhea, throwing up, your bones are hurting, you have flu-like symptoms. I mean, it's awful. And yes, I put myself in that predicament. I take full responsibility of doing that, because people are going to be like, well, nobody told you to use drugs and nobody told you to pick up. I know that. But going back, the first one that gave me the heroin was my ex-husband and his sister, my sister-in-law. When I had my third baby, that I was nagging and I was upset because I wanted to go home. I just given birth and just got out of the hospital, and he wanted to hang out and show everybody the baby, and basically he was in the bathroom getting high with his sister, and it's past midnight. I wanted to go home, so they decided to give me heroin for the first time. So that's how my heroin, my addiction with heroin. So as I'm pregnant, on my fourth child now. I'm pregnant. I'm drug sick constantly. It's not even being sick that I'm pregnant. I'm just dope sick. I ended up, again, using nonstop. I will go to my primary doctor, and I will also go get, the women's checkup, my pregnancy checkups, which I did, thank God, right? But at no given time did they check for drugs. I don't understand, but they did not even know that I was using. Even when I drank for my other kids and smoking cigarette, nobody ever educated me. Nobody ever told me. Nobody ever got in the way and stopped me, right? So having this habit, I ended up going into labor full term. I ended up going into labor, and can you believe I was active labor for 3 days, right? I was at hospital. Baby was not, I wasn't dilating. And of course, what the heck, I was under the influence. I've been partying for 3 days straight. Finally, I go back into the hospital. At this point, I had done 2 8-balls, 2 or 3 bundles of heroin. I was high. I was out of my mind. Finally, they going back and forth to the hospital, I couldn't dilate. I wouldn't dilate. So they would send me home, go walk, move around. Sure. Yeah. I was surely walking and moving around. I was heading back to Franklin Street to my sister-in-law's house, where I was just there getting high. My mom was taking care of my boys while I was in active labor, active using. There's things that, as I say these, as I tell my story, and I regret so many things, and I wish I could do everything all over again. I see, the women when they're pregnant and they're happy and they're nourishing their baby, right? I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't know how to nourish a child, not even within my belly, not even within me. I had no business having kids. So I go into labor. Finally, I go back to the hospital. And sure enough, there's complications going on. This child does not want to come out. I'm in the hospital for 72 hours straight. Never did, heart rate was irregular. There was stuff going on with the baby. They never, ever said, let's see if there's more to this than what's going on here. No, they had to call somebody down from Boston. They were flying a doctor down from Boston because it was so complicated. Finally, before the doctor arrived, I finally started dilating. Well, think about it. I'm coked up. I've also been using heroin. I'm speedballing. The baby was just high, basically. Finally give birth. And as I'm pushing, I remember just feeling everything tear, and I'm just saying I don't want to do this again. I had signed paperwork. I wanted a tubal ligation. I wanted it burned. I remember telling the doctor, once I give birth to this child, I told them, wake me, I want you to take everything out, stomp it on the floor. And this is what I told the doctor. I seriously told the doctor, when I give birth, take everything out and stomp it, like literally put your feet and stomp it on the floor and wake me up. That's how upset I was about getting pregnant all the time and having this drug, this drug abuse, this addiction. So finally, gave birth and I remember when the baby came out, I was like, well, my ex was like, it's a boy, it's a boy. I mean, he's stone out of his brain. And the doctor had to tell me, hey, hold on a minute, hold on. Of course, he was looking at the the cord, the baby's cord. And he goes, is that a boy? It's a girl. And that's when I was like, a girl? Like, mind you, I kept having boys. I had 3 boys. So when they said it was a girl, I was like, wow, I have a girl? And I remember when they placed her on me, here's this girl, she has Indian skin, dark hair, dark eyes, and she was so hungry. I mean, starving. And sure enough, of course she's starving. She's been high all this time, They checked her, they checked her vitals, everything was great. But back then, now you give birth to a child and they come out, high, or they come out, hooked to drugs, right? They give them either methadone and then they weed them down. Or they give them something, right? Because, the baby shakes and all that. Well, my daughter wasn't a shaky baby. She didn't do that. She cried a lot. I mean, she cried. But I didn't know that she was also withdrawing. And in the 1987, I never even heard that they withdraw babies. They give them medications for the withdrawals. But again, doctors didn't know that I was using. Doctors didn't know that I was that I was high. I think if they would have known that, they would have removed the baby right there and then. So here is, my daughter. I'm scheduled for the next day to have my surgery because I said no more. I don't want no more kids. The doctor was first like, well, you're 19 years old. You sure? You don't want to have no more? And I'm like, do you see all these kids I have? There's no way I want more kids. By the time I'm 30, I'm going to have like a whole football team, right? So we signed papers and I had my surgery so I won't have more kids, which I think that was the smartest thing I've done throughout my whole time. Being a mom, it's such a blessing. It is a job that you just can't F up. It is a job that you can't quit. It is a job that you can say, okay, you know what? I put in 8 hours, time out. I'm gonna clock out. Being a mom, it is the most important position a person will ever hold. We talk about medals, we talk about trophies, we talk about, winning the Grammy Awards. No. Being a mom is an enrichment. It is something beautiful. And I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't have those skills. But I could tell you, and I tell you this, that I never gave my kids away. I never left them where I said, okay, you know what? I have this addiction. I'm done. My mother had my second child because of his surgery, but he will also come over and stay with us. And at a certain age, he did come back home. I think he was like 6 years old, 7 years old, and he was so remorseful. I'm not remorseful. He was so angry with me. He still is, and he's in his 30s. But I never stopped trying to be a good mom. I never stopped trying to learn. I never not fed my kids. I never not dressed my kids. And even when I was on welfare, what little that I had, even though I had an addiction, I still made sure my kids had their clothes and their food, you know. I didn't want them to be homeless like I was when I was younger. I didn't want them to feel what it is not to have a roof over their head. I didn't want them to feel what it is not to have food. I didn't want them to feel cold at night. So I maintained, an apartment, and even though it was subsidized, the state helped me back then. I did the best I could with what I had. And do I blame myself for a lot of stuff? I do. But I can't change that. And I've asked for forgiveness to all my kids. And if I could do it again, I would have waited to be older to have kids. But I don't regret none of my kids. I don't regret them. After having my daughter, I started breastfeeding her. Again, the ignorance of breastfeeding a child, a baby, a newborn, and I'm still using.